I need it. I need it. Let's go. The guy.
Alrighty, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Jordan Uhl with you guys. And Jordan's, of course, part of Rebel headquarters. He's also got his own Insurgents podcast. So, guys, we've got a government shutdown, but not a TYT shutdown. So we're going to give you all the details of it, who's right, who's wrong, and you know we're going to be unbiased and tell you the reality of it. And number two, we've got updates on Israel, of course. Flotilla is approaching. Are they going to murder them all? They said they were working with Hamas. That is usually what Israel says before they murder you. So we will get to that story a little bit later. The Trump peace deal. There's interesting details about that are give you some sense of whether the deal is going to work or not. And we've got Tom Homan and his bribe and lots to get to. So Jordan, let's start.
Take a look at this.
Donald Trump is at record levels of unpopularity in his tenure. The Republican House is at record levels of unpopularity. They are underwater across the board, and they know it. And that is causing them to double down in public, but it is backfiring. That is why, whether it's a shutdown, whether it's all of this, they want us to blink first. And we have too much to save.
The United States government has officially shut down, and Democratic Party leadership is vowing to keep it that way until Republicans give them what they want. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is promising mass federal layoffs while he posts AI videos of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But first, how did we get here? Republicans in the House of Representatives were able to pass a bill to keep the government funded, but Republicans in the Senate have not been able to get 60 votes to pass that bill. While some Democrats did vote with Republicans, most are vowing not to vote for any government funding bill unless Republicans agree to extend healthcare subsidies, which are on the brink of vanishing. Per the New York Times, most Americans enrolled in a plan under the Affordable Care Act have benefited from federal tax credits that were expanded in 2021. But those subsidies are set to expire at the end of this year. And if they do, over 20 million Americans will be facing higher insurance premiums. Kaiser Family Foundation has estimated that Americans' share of premiums could increase by an average of more than 75%. About 2 million people are expected to lose their coverage next year if the extra funding expires, according to estimates from the Congressional Budget Office. Health insurers are anticipating that young and healthy customers will drop their insurance plans, while those facing medical problems will stay enrolled. According to analysis by KFF of company filings, insurers are increasing premiums by around 4 percentage points on average to account for a sicker group of customers next year. They are also raising prices because of increasing medical costs. A small number of Republican lawmakers have stated they are open to keeping these subsidies funded, but Republican leadership has pushed back. This morning, Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to CBS Mornings, and he insisted that this fight isn't about healthcare subsidies for Americans, but it's actually about healthcare for illegal immigrants. Take a look.
Those subsidies, while many of them are important, Tony, they don't expire until next year. So the idea that you have to shut down the government in early October over subsidies that don't expire for many months is preposterous. Nobody buys it, not even many Senate Democrats who, of course, voted with us last night to reopen the government. The second point I want to make is if you look at the Democrats' initial demands, the reason why this process really fell off the ramps from the very beginning, they came to us saying that they wanted to give massive amount of taxpayer benefits to illegal aliens. That's ridiculous. And you're certainly not going to shut down the government because we refuse to give taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens. But that is the situation that we now find ourselves in.
Now, Vance got some pushback on the claims in that clip. Let's watch.
On the Affordable Care Act subsidies, people do need to make decisions now. The renewal notices go out on November 1st, so now's the time to think about whether you can afford health care going forward. Two, on this notion that Democrats want to give a bunch of taxpayer dollars to illegal aliens, is that a reference to health care? Because when I look at it, illegal aliens are not currently eligible for the Affordable Care Act as is. So what are you referring to there?
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to explain that, Tony. There's a lot of crosstalk here. So here's what I mean. If you go back to the Biden era, they did two separate things. First of all, they encouraged illegal aliens and funded illegal aliens to go to American hospitals for health care. That was number one. Number two, they gave a massive, what's called parole. They effectively waved an amnesty wand and gave healthcare benefits to millions of illegal aliens who were in the country without documentation, without proper authorization. We undid both of those Biden-era programs to cut off that healthcare funding to illegal aliens. The Democrats want to reinstitute those policies.
Now, Democrats have repeatedly insisted they are not trying to give undocumented people health care. Republicans, however, insist otherwise. Here's Stephen Miller. Democrats shut down the government to demand free health care for illegals. So who's telling the truth? To find out, we dove into the text of these bills themselves, and we're going to tell you exactly what's inside. The Senate Democrats' proposal to keep the government funded would repeal a section of Trump's quote unquote one big beautiful bill. That section is called Subtitle B of Title 7. Of course, you all know and love that part. Inside of that section is an even smaller provision titled Alien Medicaid Eligibility, which reads in part, in no event shall payment be made to a state under this section for medical assistance furnished to an individual unless such individual is a resident of one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or a territory of the United States. And B, either a citizen or national of the United States, an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence, an alien who's been granted the status of Cuban or Haitian entrant, or an individual who lawfully resides in the United States in accordance with a compact of free association. And to clarify, compacts of free association have to do with 3 Pacific Island sovereign states in particular. The Alien Medicaid Eligibility provision did exclude certain groups from receiving federal health care benefits, including refugees, asylees, parolees, and abused spouses and children. Republicans are claiming that Democrats wanted to make Americans pay for undocumented immigrants' health care because their provision would have repealed the Alien Medicaid Eligibility provision. But undocumented immigrants are already unable to receive federal medical insurance in theory. Some states like California use state money to offer insurance plans for undocumented people. But last year, California got busted because they spent federal money on health insurance for residents with unsatisfactory legal status. It seems that the Alien Medicaid Eligibility provision of the one big beautiful bill was intended to clarify that states cannot spend federal money on healthcare for undocumented immigrants. It also revoked certain groups' eligibility for federal healthcare benefits, as we mentioned. And although the Democrats' proposal would have repealed that provision, it would not have suddenly made undocumented immigrants eligible for federal healthcare. Jank, it seems a little wonky, a little complex, but when you boil it down, surprise, surprise, the Republicans might be misleading American people here. What do you think?
I'm shocked to find out gambling in this establishment. Okay, so look, I'm gonna tell you how it breaks down in terms of whose fault it is. But first, something that I hope we can all agree on. As soon as the government shut down last night, what wound up happening is that federal workers stop getting paid. So they still have to work, a lot of them, like air traffic controllers, et cetera, but they just won't get paid for the work. They do get the money back later if and when the government reopens. I assume it's gonna reopen at some point, but meanwhile, they can't pay the bills, right? But there is one exception. Congress, overall, the exception categories politicians. So it has a couple of branches, Congress, the White House. So Trump will keep getting paid. All the incompetent politicians who brought us to the shutdown will keep getting paid because, pain and suffering, that's for the masses. But the elites never suffer, even though they're the ones making these decisions. So I can guarantee you that if you polled, should they stop getting paid as well? Well, we might actually get 100% on a poll for the first time ever. All the Congress people are like, no, keep paying us, get paid double. Well, you're not even working. You're the ones who shut down the government. No, we're the elites. Okay, I got it, dude. We all hate you. Okay, so now let's move on to the hard part of who's at fault here. This one's a little bit more complicated than usual. Why? So normally the Republicans come in and go, okay, we're shutting the government down. We don't care, and we don't care if nobody gets paid, blah, blah, blah. And usually by the end, people realize that it's the Republicans who were shutting down the government, right? So in this case, they do need Democratic votes. So normally what happens when you need the other party's votes for anything, including in filibuster situations, you can do one of two things. You can use the Democratic approach, which is immediate surrender. They're like, oh, paid family leave polls at 84%. Oh, a couple of Republicans objected, we surrender, right? Or, and that's what the Republicans are demanding now of the Democrats. No, we want unilateral surrender. We want you to get nothing in this negotiation, and we want you to give us your votes anyway on a continuing resolution to keep the government going. And the Republicans say, well, look, this is not about passing bills. We already just passed a giant tax cut for the rich and corporations. I mean the big beautiful bill, right? So it's not fair for the Democrats to not vote with us to continue the government. What do you mean not fair? What does that mean? So no, when you're trying to pass anything, there is a negotiation. So could the Democrats say, okay, you know what, let's just continue it till November 21st as the Republicans want, and it's okay if we don't get anything, at least the government doesn't shut down. Yeah, they could do that. So if you wanna give them a little bit of blame for not doing that, okay, all right. Now, on the other end, could the Republicans negotiate like every bill that's ever passed? Yeah, of course they can negotiate. But they're like, Democrats, we don't want to give them anything, ever. Well, okay, then you're not gonna get the votes. That's how it works. So I don't know why you're feigning outrage over that. I know why, because both sides are gonna do their talking points, but it's total BS. Get to like when you're in politics, Politics 101 is, at the end of the day, you have to pass budgets, bills, etc. You get together, you negotiate, and you come up with a compromise. But the Republicans are at this point never, ever, ever want to compromise. My way or the highway. Well, okay, then we got the highway. So why don't you stop crying about it or get to the goddamn negotiating table? All right, so and you cannot argue with that. Now, okay, now let's get to the specific of what the Democrats want. What do they want to negotiate over? So Jordan told you, healthcare is a critical one. So 2 million people are gonna lose those benefits, a perfectly good thing to negotiate on. It gets a little wonky and then the Republicans throw in the monkey wrench of the undocumented immigrants, which I'll explain in a second. But overall, it looks like Democrats are standing up for people to get healthcare, and the Republicans are like, no. Okay, then my favorite part though is JD Vance's disingenuous reaction there. I mean, this isn't gonna run out till the end of the year. Why don't we just continue the government out? That's because the Democrats have like a smidge of leverage, and shockingly, they've decided to use it for the American people. That's a good thing, right? And so they're like, you think that if the Democrats are like, oh yeah, let's not negotiate over that, it's okay, it's not gonna run out till the end of the year, and we'll just give the Republicans what they want, that when they then say, okay, now we'd like to introduce a bill to make sure that those people don't lose their health care, that the Republicans will be like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, of course, introduce anything you like, we'll vote on it. And you know what, maybe we'll vote with you. No, they're not even gonna let the Democrats introduce that legislation. So JD Vance, are you gonna let the Democrats introduce legislation and vote, and you're making it seem like, oh, it's no big deal. Isn't every single Republican going to vote no? on extending the health care for those 2 million Americans? And you know they are. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2, but overall, they're like, oh, Americans, they're not even donors. Yeah. They're not even a foreign government. Yeah. No. So now look, the Democrats, I saw Hakeem Jeffries last night on CNN because Anna was on, and so I'm like, all right, I'll bear through this. And God, they're so bad at messaging. They get right into the weeds and they lose everyone. They speak like professors. Bro, just be like, hey, 2 million Americans, we're giving them health care, and the Republicans are saying, hell no, we'll shut the government down before we give Americans health care, okay? But they're not even rich. They don't even give us money. They're not even corporations, right? They're not even Israel, right? And that would be a strong way of saying it. Okay, all right. Last thing is on undocumented immigrants for now. So is it true that the states pay, if they want to pay for undocumented immigrants, the federal government doesn't, so the states have to do it themselves? Yes. Is it true though that sometimes, like California, will overcharge the federal government, and then when they do an audit, for example, last year, they found out that California had overcharged by about 50 million or so. And so they said, no, according to the law, and you have to follow the law, California has to pay for this, not the federal government. Wait a minute, who was president last year? I mean, Trump caught him. Oh, right, that was Biden. So the Democrats caught themselves overcharging because Democrats are in California, and they said, you're not allowed to do that because there's a law that says you're not allowed to do that. And they got California to pay the money back. So California shouldn't have done it in the first place, but apparently there's a process in place that even Democrats use to make sure that the money does not go to undocumented immigrants. Problem solved.
Yeah, I think you're right. They need to simplify the messaging, really hammer home how this impacts everyday people. These subsidies are a vital lifeline. Healthcare is already too expensive. Despite its name, the Affordable Care Act, the marketplace plans that come from that are typically not affordable for people. So these subsidies help. It doesn't fix the problem. I would argue a much better, all-encompassing universal healthcare system is the way to go. So people don't have to worry about whether or not they can afford healthcare the next year, starting in October. So I'm glad to see one mainstream media outlet push back on JD Vance on that point. But now that we've explained the substance of the issue, we should discuss whether the shutdown is politically advantageous for Democrats or Republicans. Democratic leadership is likely choosing to take a stand because their voters think the party is weak. Take a look.
Democrats on who has strong leaders. Look at this, 54% say neither party, 54% of Democrats say neither party has strong leaders. Among Republicans, 80% of their base thinks Republicans have strong leaders. Yet among Democrats, just get this, just 35% of Democrats say their party has strong leaders. Take a look here. Okay, Democrats and who get things done. Again, it's just 50, we get this 50% of Democrats say neither party gets anything done. Just 41% of Democrats say their own party gets stuff done. Well, this is, I think, the real pressure facing Democrats at this particular point. Democrats who think their parties need major changes or more. Look at this, 57% of Democrats say their party needs major changes or more compared to just 43% who say minor or no changes. Again, very different than the Republican Party, where 21% of Republicans, only 21% say their party needs major changes or more.
Now, the Washington Post editorial board is warning Democrats that they won't win this fight. President Donald Trump and his budget director, Russell Vogt, now have extraordinary authority to choose which agencies to close, what spending to prioritize, and even which government workers to lay off. As Trump warned on Tuesday, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible. The public has proved to be unsupportive of lawmakers who create unnecessary crises to extract political concessions. The most likely outcome is that Democrats will come to regret having just walked into a trap. And speaking of Russ Vogt, he's already made two big announcements today. Roughly 18 billion in New York City infrastructure projects have been put on hold to ensure funding is not flowing based on unconstitutional DEI principles. More info to come soon. And then elsewhere, nearly 8 billion in green new scam funding to fuel the left's climate agenda is being canceled. Again, promising more to come, but the projects are in the following states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota. The list goes on, but it's many, many states. And according to Politico, OMB Chief Russell Vogt told House Republicans on a private call Wednesday that the administration will start mass reduction in force moves or firings of federal workers in a day or two, according to 4 people granted anonymity to describe the call. Now, time will tell what else Vogt decides to do, but in the meantime, here's what's still moving, as well as what's grinding to a halt. Today, the CDC announced that mission-critical activities at HHS will continue. TSA workers and air traffic controllers are still working, even if they're not being paid. USPS will keep mail moving as per usual. Social Security will continue, but safety net programs like SNAP and WIC could run out of funds. Federal workers and active duty military members will not get paid, and FEMA is still running, but its funds are growing sparse. Now, Cenk, how do you feel about this idea and this concept, this opinion pushed by the Washington Post editorial board that this is a losing battle for Democrats?
They always say the Democrats are going to lose. To be fair to them, the Democrats are so bad they usually do lose, right? But like going into these battles, mainstream media is always like, oh, the Democrats are very wrong, very wrong. It's the Democrats. They love to pick the Republican side. Why? Because they're giant corporations. And so the Republicans represent corporations tiny bit more than the Democrats do. So no, Jordan, it's super clear who's going to win this showdown. Even though I can't tell you if it's Democrats or Republicans, but when I tell you how you're going to know, you're going to get worried. The stronger side wins. The side with better messaging wins. Because you have to be out there from today to the day that it gets resolved, out all over media, TV, podcast, every kind of media you can imagine out there going, we're for the healthcare, they're against the American people, against the American people. Why did you steal their healthcare from them, etc. Right? And then you would break the Republicans, you know, the old days. Now, the Republican politicians are the ones you should target because that makes sense in this case, right? But will the Democrats do that? They'll probably go, well, according to clause 37 BC, we are. So, I mean, like as I tell you who's, you know, what the victory is going to be based on, I'm super worried because the Democrats are the absolute worst in getting the message out of any party I have ever seen in any country in my lifetime, okay? So now, and look at the framing though of mainstream media. To be fair, they also have mainstream media against them. Now, like normally on social issues, mainstream media is on the Democrat side, right? But on economic issues, they're totally against Democrats, even though the Democrats are usually faking it. But anyways, so in this case, they say, oh, well, I've seen tons of reports like this now. Oh, the Democrats and Chuck Schumer are only doing this to appease their base because their base wants them to fight the Republicans. What does that mean? Are they not supposed to listen to their voters? Like they're literally chiding them for the first time ever listening to their voters. Like, oh, the Democrats, how dare they listen to their voters? They're just being driven to try to protect healthcare for Americans because of their voters, right? Yeah, what's wrong with that? Is that what you want? No, because mainstream media hates the voters and never wants you to represent them. And so, okay, now how do I know that the Republicans in this case are not full of crap? Like, so they're enthusiastically going, oh, now we're gonna get to fire the federal workers. During Doge, we fired people. Now we're gonna fire more Americans. We love to fire people, and that makes sense. Donald Trump's catchphrase was, you're fired, right? So if you're an average American, you're working for the government or something else, they love firing you, right? Why don't they fire any of the subsidies? I mean, we could save a lot of money if we stop giving $35 billion to oil companies. That's money out of our pocket. Why don't we stop that? No. Can we stop funding Israel's genocide? How dare you, anti-Semite? No, we fund Israel no matter what, okay? We fund oil companies and drug companies no matter what. The Americans fired, you're fired. My donors wanted you fired, okay? So Republicans, you mean anything Look, again, politicians and voters are very different. The voters have been misled for a long time on both sides. So I know Republican voters don't want to give those subsidies. There might be a couple randos that still are 68 or 98 and they watch Fox News and they're like, oh, Sean Hannity told me that corporate rule is awesome. Please take my money, giant corporations who make billions of dollars, right? But the politicians, oh my God, monumentally full of crap. That's the Republicans. Now turn to the Democrats. Now, what do we tell you? We told you for 20 straight years here, guys, the Democrats never fight. They never fight for you. And we were the heretics and we were the bad guys. Oh, you're hurting the Democratic Party. You're letting everyone know we never do anything. Shh. Well, too late, word's out. Look at those results. Everybody thinks, you've Democratic voters, forget Republicans and independents. Democratic voters, your own voters, think you are weak and totally ineffective. They caught you, everybody's getting caught now. Mainstream media kept everything bottled up forever and ever and ever. They never let the truth out while pretending to be objective. Now because of online media, they can't contain things. They're like, no, don't tell anyone we gave Israel $300 billion. Oh, God damn it, now they know. Don't say Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was an Israeli spy who stole our nuclear secrets. Oh, God damn it, now they know, right? Don't say we give the subsidies to all the corporations and screw over the average. Oh, no, they know. And one of the things that happened is the Democrats got caught. You guys suck, the politicians, and you never fight for us. And now you have a smidge of a fight. And so, okay, great. And of course, and they're like, oh, mainstream media is yelling at us. Who cares? You should go on their shows and yell at them. Yell at them, okay? But no, no. Let's be civil, let's be civil. So you want major changes in the Democratic Party? RebellionPact.com. Not only do we have 3 candidates now, I've been talking to a lot of folks, some good populists out there like I've never seen before. Before you talk to Democratic candidates, they're all so careful and they'd be told by the consultants, it'd be in this tiny little box. Now I'm talking to guys, including one today, where they're actually regular people. And they're like, oh, we're tired of this crap. And that's it. We want to take over the Democratic Party and have them actually do things. Like, yes. So there is a way, RebellionPact.com. But Jordan, who are Schumer and Jeffries gonna fold? I mean, probably.
I don't know. I mean, my takeaway in this part is how the media continues to mislead people and has them focused on the wrong things. So this idea that Democrats are going to lose this battle when they're the ones, like you pointed out earlier, surprisingly, at least in this moment, fighting for people who need healthcare. And again, we know the inadequacies of the Affordable Care Act. And then Harry Enton with that poll talking about how Democrats don't have faith in their party and they don't see them doing the right things. Thankfully, there's Rebellion PAC, but I think the problem is much bigger than that, and it's not just a partisan problem. Pew Research did a poll a couple weeks ago that found that 76% of US adults want at least major reforms to our political system. This is both parties and independents. And that, some of that includes people who want a complete overhaul. And the media doesn't want to talk about that. They'll just say, well, no, who's gonna win this little battle? Who's gonna win this fund? We're having a funding fight. We can't keep the government open. Like, I feel like CNN focusing on which party is wrong misses the forest for the trees. We have a completely dysfunctional system. We have a system that gives too much power to one person or a handful of people. We have a corrupt Supreme Court with no ethics. We have a president who wants to be an authoritarian. You have party leadership in Congress who is going to sit on their hands on one side and enable them on the other. He's in the White House meeting with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer yesterday, and they hand them Trump 2028 hats. A flagrant violation of the Constitution, and everyone in the room laughs. Like, what are we doing here? Who cares whether or not the party is strong enough? The entire system is broken. Throw it out and replace it. I don't know. I feel like CNN and Washington Post, all of these establishment outlets are just continuing to enable this dysfunctional system that is ruining the lives of millions of Americans.
Yeah, my last quick thought on that. If Trump came in and you started giving me Trump 2028 hats and the cameras are rolling, I mean, that's a gift from the gods. If I was Hakeem or Chuck, I would be like, Why? Are you planning to violate the Constitution, run for a third term? You know, that's why people thought you're authoritarian. Do you know that? Do you understand that? Do you understand that you can't run for 3 terms? I just want to be clear because you seem to not understand fundamental parts of the Constitution. Have you ever read the Constitution? They're like, oh, well, you can't say that to Trump. Trump's feelings have been hurt. Good, good. Are you crying? Are you crying? There is no Trump 2028. And then I take the hat and I throw it. I throw it on the ground. Oh no, you hurt Trump's feelings. Yeah, goddamn right I did. Yeah, look, Democrats couldn't begin. These current Democratic leaders couldn't begin to fight. They don't know how. They've never heard of it. They're like, they're winging it on the spot. They're like, oh, there's a hat. I don't know what to do with it. Okay, I've been told that my voters want us to fight. Okay, all right, we'll ask for this little thing. Look, I'd ask for a lot more, and but that's for a different day. So overall, though, don't lose focus on this issue. The Democrats are right in trying to preserve healthcare for 2 million Americans. The Republican idea that you're never supposed to negotiate and you just get whatever your side wants and you ignore the other side is not how Congress works, period.
Yeah. One final thing, now the government is shut down. People are pointing fingers. So what is the president doing in this moment? What is the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the world? What's he doing? He's posting things like this.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
I have no words. Cenk, what do you make of this?
Like, look, they're not unfunny, okay, even though it's terrible, right? But I wouldn't go at him with, oh, it's racist and it's bigoted. Is it? Of course. Why does he have a sombrero on? He's not Latino. What is that, right? So it's nonsensical, right? But I would just tell him, oh, I didn't know the president of the United States was a child. Are we doing trolling? Are we doing sketches? Do I have to respond to him in a sketch? Okay, and then do I have to put a fez on him and go, oh, he's from a different ethnicity? Like, just make fun of him because he's a child. He's the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, commander in chief. And he's like, oh, I found a funny sombrero video of Hakeem Jeffries. I'm gonna repost that. You child, do your job. All right, we gotta take a break, guys. When we come back, more ass kicking. Let's see who gets it.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor?
No.
All right, back on TYT. Chulu writes in on Super Chat. It's sad that AOC has more balls than the men of the Democratic Party. Yeah, I hear you on that, but I mean, that's not that surprising. So women are often stronger. I mean, does Anna, for example, have more cojones than, I don't know, 99.99999% of Democratic politicians, and maybe 100%? Yeah, of course she does. 00083 says the Democrats are careless gardens. They love to say that we will be your shield, but when the time comes for them to block the incoming fire from Republicans, they pull the shield away and we take the hit. Yeah, look, I'm just gonna add one thing to that. Look, guys, to the point that I was making about the Sombrero AI video, instead of constantly complaining, strike back, make them complain. Now it's getting to a point when people book me to debate Israel, the Israel supporters start dropping out. They don't want any piece of me, right? Why? Because I don't go, oh, I'm offended. I offend them. Then they're like, oh, well, you're not allowed to say that about Israel. I could say it about Muslims. The Muslims' lives are worthless, and we haven't killed enough of them. And then when I say, hey, it sounds like you're saying what I just said, they're like, oh, like the guy today, he was on Al Arabia. He's like, he hung up eventually. He's like, I don't know why they're being allowed to say this. Yeah, well, and that's when you know you got real Democrats that are gonna fight for you. When the Republicans start crying. When the Republicans are like, they shouldn't be allowed to say that. Instead of Hakeem Jeffries being, oh, I'm offended. Stop being offended. Make them offended. Punch back. Okay, Mohit Baki wrote in, I would love Ro Khanna / Nina Turner 2028 to get thoughts. Could that work? Hell yeah, of course it could work. So if you give me Khanna and Nina Turner, we win the race. Like, I don't know that that's gonna be the ticket, but do I know that if they had that ticket with all of the allies fighting for them, oh, we messed them up, man. Because we wouldn't have any of the clowns to stop us. We wouldn't have any of the consultants going, no, the corporate CEOs are very peeved. They're peaked. They're very upset, don't do that. No, as soon as you get rid of those guys, we send in the ass kickers. Yeah, of course we'll win. Marco Antonio says, JD Vance is gonna run out of eyeliners in this shutdown. That is a real concern. Good point, Marco. He's a YouTube member. Let's go to Twitch members. Evening Tap says, watched Anna's interview with Tucker last night. Let's get rid of left versus right, TYT. Yeah, that's right. And that's because they've been using it to divide us this entire time while robbing us blind. Rad Rocket says, politics is pretty easy to understand. They don't give a crap about any of us. Ding, 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 we got a winner. Targrim Unlimited says, glad to fund real news of TYT Daily. I agree with no GOP concessions, period. Hold the line, call your representatives, call your senator, tell them to keep up the fight, make the GOP beg. And they have to beg like, oh no, please, this doesn't even go to our corporate donors, please. Won't anyone think of the donors? All right, Dev0094 says, thank you, AOC. Now primary Chucky, please. Agreed. Primary Chuck Schumer, that'll be awesome. Back on TYT, Jake Jordan with you guys. More news.
Take a look at this.
Today, Pfizer is committing, as will other drug companies as we go through the weeks. But Pfizer is truly one of the biggest in the world and one of the greatest in the world. Today, Pfizer is committing to offer all of their prescription medications to Medicaid, and it will be at the most favored nation's prices. It's going to have a huge impact on bringing Medicaid costs down. Like nothing else. These drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by Pfizer to the American market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation costs.
President Trump's White House is planning to roll out a website dubbed Trump RX that would allow Americans to directly purchase pharmaceutical drugs. At the same time, Pfizer claims its plans to lower prices on several of its medications in the US. Trump RX would allow people to pay cash for certain discounted drugs directly from a government website. The price would be negotiated by the government, but it's unclear how many drugs would be offered or whether the website would be useful for the majority of Americans who are already covered by private insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. And separately, Pfizer is expected to announce their plan to lower drug costs after Trump pushed pharmaceutical companies to do so for months. The Wall Street Journal says that other companies are expected to follow suit. Trump called for pharmaceutical companies to participate in a direct-to-consumer drug buying platform and offer most favored nation pricing, commonly understood as prices lower or comparable to those in other developed nations, in a July letter. He gave drug makers until September 29th to do so, although there is concern that drug makers will increase prices internationally to match the price gouging Americans have been dealing with for decades. The agreement involves discounted prices in Medicaid and a 3-year reprieve on planned pharmaceutical tariffs as long as the company is building manufacturing plants in the US, which Pfizer seems poised to do. Amy Rose, a spokesperson for Pfizer, says that the drug maker's chief executive, Albert Bourla, plans a $70 billion investment to produce medications in the US. Rose also claims that Pfizer's lower drug prices would benefit as many as 100 million Americans. It's a win for American patients, a win for American leadership, and it's a win for Pfizer because it provides the certainty and stability we need to continue advancing new breakthrough medicines for patients. White House spokesman Kash Desai agreed. President Trump is leveraging the power of the federal government to drastically cut drug prices for everyday Americans. Democrats talked the talk for decades about drug prices, but only President Trump is actually walking the walk. In the end, this all might be the result of one of Trump's threats. Last week, he asserted that branded drugs that are imported to the states would face 100% tariffs if they're not building facilities in the US. Bourla's commitments to Trump mean Pfizer will be exempt from those tariffs. Now, Cenk, is this a win for Trump, or should we also consider the fact that these companies might just be raising prices elsewhere to match those in the US?
No, I like it. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep an eye out on what you're saying. We definitely should. And if they do raise prices in other places so that we wind up getting to the same price, then we should report on that and tell the American people what frauds they are, et cetera. And you look, when you're talking about Big Pharma, it's the biggest lobby. It makes AIPAC look like a toddler. And so and the American people have no love for Big Pharma. So that'd be easy to call them out. But in this case, I think Trump's doing the right thing. So like Biden, it's not enough. But there is a bill that could fix it, but let's break it down a little bit, right? So these drug companies, first of all, if you don't know, don't allow us to negotiate drug prices. And if you're thinking, what I don't understand what that means. Like, so I go in to buy a TV, let's say at a Best Buy, and I go, oh, okay, I can pay $800. No, you have to pay $8,000. But I mean, I don't have the $8,000. It doesn't matter. You have to pay it. What? Because drugs, you need it, right? And they're like, the government can't negotiate. No one's allowed to negotiate. You must pay whatever the drug company tells you. So if you think, well, that sounds like that's against free markets and against capitalism. Oh, ding, 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 we have a winner. You are absolutely right. It is some sort of weirdo communism for corporations. Like it's nuts. So this is a tiny little part of it now that where they're saying, hey, you know what? For one drug company, Pfizer, for this brief 3-year period because of the tariff thing, et cetera, they're gonna maybe, to Jordan's point, maybe lower drug prices a little bit. I'll take it, okay? Just like Joe Biden, where Joe Biden said, oh, you know what? I just noticed that we can't negotiate any drug prices. And so you know what? I'm gonna negotiate one drug price. Okay, on insulin, I think. And then 9 others like a decade later. So we're good. And the press was like, bravo, bravo, we're negotiating drug prices. On one, dude, on one. Again, if you gave him credit for later, it'd be up to 10, but he's not, Trump won, so none of that's gonna happen. So overall, this is a good thing, but like the Biden one, it's tiny, it's a sliver of a fix. Now, Trump actually signed an executive order that's way better, and I got great news for you guys. It's now a bill that Republicans could all vote for because it's Trump's executive order, verbatim, okay? And good news for Democrats because it involves most favored nation status, so to lower the drug prices so that we pay the same price as those other developed nations for all Americans. So Democrats love that policy, so it should pass unanimously, right? Ro Khanna came up with it. Of course, on Operation Hope that we run at TYT, volunteers are calling their lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats, and saying, why don't you pass this bill? This, like, it has nearly 100% approval. Why don't you pass it? And you'll be shocked to find out that all of Congress has no interest in passing it. None. The Republicans are like, oh, it's a Trump executive memo? I don't, executive order. Shh, don't tell our base, don't tell our base. Of course we're not gonna do that, that's for the average American, right? And the Democrats are like, oh, that's exactly our policy. Oh no, we're not gonna vote yes. Okay, so they can actually fix this tomorrow, pass the bill. Pass the bill, and the whole thing's fixed, not just for Pfizer, not just for a limited time, and then we hope and pray that they don't raise the prices elsewhere, and not for just one drug or 10 drugs, for all drugs. So we get back to a free market, we get back to sending. No other country does this. The only reason why our country does this maniacal thing, when you tell, and I've been in other countries, and I've given speeches, and I tell them this part, they don't believe me. They're like, that's the craziest thing we have ever heard. How could America, that like the leaders in capitalism, say that you have to pay whatever a corporation tells you? That's insane, right? So, I mean, look at our country. So, have you seen mainstream media explain in this way how insane that provision is? And we've had it now for decades. Bush did it. Then Obama ran an ad saying, well, I'm never gonna do that. He got in, he's like, oh yes, sir, drug companies, I'm so sorry, we're not negotiating anything, okay? So Obama did nothing, Trump did nothing in his first term, Biden did the 1 to 10 drugs, and now Trump's like, oh, I got a sliver for you guys. But am I in favor of the sliver? I am. But we are asking you guys in the live chat poll, be part of the live show, you crazy, 6 to 8 p.m., then you become part of the show. So I'm curious what you guys think. Does Trump deserve cookies for this? So 70% saying no, not good enough. Jordan, what do you say?
I say no as well. I think the devil's in the details here, and while I don't know, immediately I'm going to be suspicious of anything branded as Trump. Trump RX, immediate non-starter for me. But also, I was reading about this on Monday in Politico, and it seems like these pharmaceutical companies know how to navigate these types of threats from him. So when they're saying, oh, we want, preferred nation pricing, they understood the subtext there. It's like, look, publicly, we gotta pretend like we care. We gotta pretend like we get the best costs. So they see it and they're raising prices in Europe. That's how they're going to respond. Eli Lilly, according to Politico on Monday, appears to have publicly responded, pledging to raise prices in Europe to lower what they charge in the US. And Bristol Myers Squibb announced plans to charge the same list price for its new schizophrenia treatment in the United Kingdom as the US. So all they're doing is raising the prices for these drugs in other developed countries so the US can say, oh, see, we're charged the same thing now that they are charged higher rates. So if anything, it's just going to make other countries and the residents of other countries hate the United States and Trump even more.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a classic Big Pharma move. Oh, no, guys, we're gonna have the same price for America as we do in places like Canada, where they pay so much less. Raise prices on Canada. God, they're unbearable. But good news, all of our news networks, major multi-billion-dollar news networks are all over it. They're constantly talking about what a robbery it is of the American people. This one might not cost us billions. This one might cost us trillions. And that's why the New York Times and CNN are so out. Oh, I'm hearing they're not outraged. Okay, gotcha. Okay, guys, you put a spotlight on it and you can fix it overnight because the American people are totally united on this. But our politicians are united against us. All right, so let's take a break then. And then when we come back, Trump has decided that he's going to go after more political enemies. Oh, thank God, I thought we had a little bit of a democracy left. You know what, when my family moved to America, we thought, God, I hope they go after political enemies. Jesus Christ, man, we'll be back.
Antifa!
right, back on TYT. Let's go to members on TYT.com who are so wonderfully educated, okay? So here's a great example of it. Impeach for Peace says, I'm a professor and just today I was approving funding for undergraduate research into new pharmaceuticals. Wait, do you work at Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson? Oh no, you work at a university. Hold on, let's keep going. Pfizer is lying when they suggest they do much of their own R&D. Exactly. Now, how many times have you heard on CNN or read at the New York Times that all this talk of like, oh, we need to charge you trillions more than you should pay, because how could we do research and development otherwise? No, the universities do research and development. The kind, by the way, that Trump cut off recently at Harvard because they wouldn't bow down to Israel, which I can't believe I'm saying that sentence. I might go speak at Harvard because they did that bold, courageous move. So anyway, so they did, isn't it amazing they never tell you? They don't even do most of their research and development. We pay for it through universities and they give it to them for free. Where's our goddamn equity? Where's our money, Lebowski? We funded that research and development. And what do we get in return? Not only do we not get the money, even though we funded it, they charge us unbelievable rates. They've charged us to the point of like, well, if we charge a penny more, they won't be able to afford it and then they'll die. We don't want them dying. We just want to rob them of all of their money. Oh, politicians, help us do that. And the politicians are, Big Pharma, yeah, I'd love to help you. Come on, let's rob the Americans together. Okay, I mean, that's actually what's happening. And mainstream media is like, well, research and development. Big Pharma says they need money for research and development. Pay them 8 times more than Canada does. Go ahead. Bunch of liars. Anyway, I love you guys. Way to give us the real information. Georgie Girl says, Jordan, great to see you get heated up and excellent points. Can we get you on CNN too? Look, I get it. I criticize CNN all the time, right? But isn't it kind of hilarious that none of the cable news networks will let me on? Like every show now all across the world is like, oh yeah, because we got bigger, jank, Anna, whatever, right? Except the 3 cable news networks. They're like, yeah, we know we'd get higher ratings and we know it'd be interesting and we know that you run one of the largest networks online. It's no, never. Look at what he's saying about corporations. Look at what he's saying about the beloved donors. And he doesn't even agree that we should be ruled by foreign governments. Okay, anyways, but yes, it would be great to have Jordan. And others were saying, way to pull a jank. Okay, I don't know. So sorry, Jordan. Rob3 Tratsworth says, Nate Silver polled that the better issue for Dems is to negotiate on tariffs. Well, that's fair. And I would have loved to have been part of the meeting on what they should focus on, and messaging would have been a huge part of it. But anyways, what's done is done. Hot Pot Biddy Dragon says, yeah, our daughter is turning 26, so isn't covered by our plan anymore. But here in California, our insurance premium went up, so we're paying the same amount as when she was covered. The insurance companies need regulation big time. That is definitely true. Pseudo Dragon says, speaking as a federal worker in a rational country, everything about your system is insane. The only time we don't get paid is when our strong public sector unions go on strike. Yep. Funkin' for
Antifa.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys. I'm gonna read just 2 comments from our members on TYT.com. Now, why do I get to read their comments? Well, because they actually literally fund the show and make the show possible. So, Funkin' for Fun, though, puts in an extra element that you should know in terms of like how it's affecting real people, and that's why I wanted to read it. My wife and my sister both work for the government. My wife is getting paid right now, but my sister is not. So it has begun. And of course, Congress continues to get paid, and so does the president, because they're the ones who caused this problem. All right, anyways, tyt.com/join. And in fact, Littered Farm 2008 did that. Said, I've been watching for a long time and finally became a member. You all have saved me from this disaster of a circus show full of hate. I'm so angry, but I appreciate you all. Thank you. Right back at you, because now we're doing the show together. Jordan, what's next?
Take a look at this.
Tonight, President Trump targeting another former FBI director, accusing Christopher Wray of lying to the American public. The president posting online, the FBI secretly placed 274 agents into the crowd during the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, and alleging those agents probably acted as agitators and insurrectionists. President Trump saying the Justice Department will likely be targeting more people.
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt.
President Donald Trump is making clear that he intends to target more of his political enemies, including former FBI Director Christopher Wray, who served from 2017 to 2025. And remind me again who appointed him. But here is what the president stated when asked if the Department of Justice should investigate Wray. I would certainly imagine, I would think that they are doing that. Vice President J.D. Vance was asked if we should expect to see more indictments, and here was his answer.
Well, there's certainly going to be more indictments coming over the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration, but we're always going to let the law drive this stuff and the facts of the case and not political motivations, which frankly makes us so much different from the Biden administration, where they indicted not just the president of the United States, but so many people who were just engaged in the basic job of politics, who were engaged in policymaking, who disagreed with the Biden administration, and because that they faced prosecution from that same administration.
But the Trump administration's crackdown on their opposition is larger than just these individual indictments against public figures. Last week, frenemy of the show Ken Klippenstein reported the following. Trump's NSPM 7 labels common beliefs as terrorism indicators. NSPM 7 is what's known as a national security directive. A national security directive is a sweeping policy decree for the defense, foreign policy, intelligence, and law enforcement apparatus. National security directives are often secret, but in this case, the Trump administration chose to publish it. And the directive states the United States requires a national strategy to investigate and disrupt networks, entities, and organizations that foment political violence so that law enforcement can intervene in criminal conspiracies before they result in violent political acts. Now, NSPM 7 instructs the DOJ to assign this task to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Forces, or JTTFs, of which there are about 200. And here is what NSPM 7 outlines as indicators of violence: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, on race, on gender, hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. And here's what Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller has to say about NSPM 7. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism. Now, Cenk, because of you, because of this audience, I have an anti-American POS tattoo on my leg. Am I now going to be arrested?
Yeah, well, we're about to find out, and that's where they cross the Rubicon, right? And so, like, no joke, right? Because this is saying, it's the broadest thing I've ever heard. If you disagree with Republicans on family values, Republicans disagree with Republicans on family values. Remember Schlippity Schlapp and how he pummeled the crotch of another dude? So is he going to be arrested as a terrorist? What is this? This is insanity. Okay, so by the way, I will tell you what it is. This comes from the Heritage Foundation. It's called Project Esther. It's really interesting. So because this is folks who are not Jewish at all, but what they're doing is they explain that. It's amazing. They made it public, right? Along with Project 2025, that they're going to basically use Israel as a pretext to start calling Americans terrorists and then round up their political opponents. It's amazing. It's amazing. Now, Israel just launched its own version of Project Esther. Thank God. Okay, we're going to talk about that later in the show. But for this, and what's funny is that they're like, we're going to say that people are anti-Semitic, and then that will transition to terrorist, etc. Right? And we've seen that unfold already on college campuses. Well, they're anti-Semites, so we should arrest them. I mean, that sounds un-American, so they kind of support terrorism, just support terrorism, lock them up, deport them, etc. So, but it's almost scarier in that case that it has nothing to do with Israel, its origin. In fact, some of the things they wrote were kind of anti-Semitic. And it was kind of hilarious, the irony there, right? Some portions of the paper like refer to like Jews as this or that, and you're like, what is that, right? So it's like these evangelical fundamentalist Christians who are like, how do we round up people that don't agree with our way of interpreting our religion while pretending to be worried about terrorism or anti-Semitism? So, and now it's begun. And so, Jordan, to me, the biggest question is, how do people respond? So at some point, they're gonna go arrest someone for an absurd charge. And then they're gonna do it again, and then they're gonna do it 7 times, and then they're gonna do it to someone prominent, right? And when that happens, in the beginning, when the first person gets arrested, nobody's gonna say anything. I mean, we're all gonna go nuts, etc. But the independent podcasters are gonna be like, I don't know. The third one, Tim Dillon will be like, what's going on? Theo Von, etc. I hope, right? And on the 7th one, maybe we get a couple of more podcasters. And when they arrest someone prominent, if they let them get away with it for terrorism is you don't support my view of morality, my view of religion, let alone all the other things that Jordan just read to you. Nah, then we lost the country, then it's over. Freedom of speech is over, the Constitution's over. I mean, and if you're a Trump voter, what are you doing, guys? This is America? No, this is tyrannical government treading on you. And by the way, you think they're gonna stop at us? You think they're not gonna come for you at some point when you object to something that the donor class doesn't want? I mean, the Heritage Foundation, yeah, they all talk of this gobbledygook about, Christian fundamentalism, etc. But at the end of the day, they're funded by giant corporations. So this is a way of tightening the vice and the grip of the powerful so no one's allowed to object.
Yeah, I mean, these tenets fly in the face of the First Amendment, just about every single component. You can't criticize the economic system in this country. You can't be anti-capitalist. What are we talking? I mean, part of that is just showing the role of the elites in this country in protecting capitalist interests, and that is in both parties. I'm sure most Democrats wouldn't want to criminalize or label as terrorists people who just are simply critical of an economic system, but they certainly want to protect it. Overthrow of the United States government. I mean, come on, the Trump administration doing this? You just pardoned the J6ers. What are you talking about? You don't care about this. They want to use this as a cudgel to crack down on the left. But then you get into other things like hostility toward those who hold traditional American views on family. What does that even mean? I mean, we can assume what they mean, which is a heteronormative couple with children and mostly white. I mean, you see the things that they're doing. I think it's important to look at what the long-term consequences of all of the things that they're doing. This is just one component. But I keep going back to the DOT under Sean Duffy wanting to prioritize funding in areas based on birth rates. Obviously, it's extremely creepy, but it's unnerving when you think about how all of these things have interplay. And how they want to prioritize increasing birth rates. Why are they so worried about how many people are having kids? And then you couple that with their crackdown on people's right to choose for themselves. Banning abortion, banning access to reproductive care in as many states as they possibly can. And when you stack all of these things together, you start to see a clearer picture of this white Christian capitalist nation that they want to build. That's not what it means to be America. You have a right to disagree. You have a right to be critical. You have a right to dissent. And I also feel like a lot of this is bluster, but I don't want to minimize it. We'll see as things go on, but part of me is like, I feel like I fall into a lot of those categories. What's that gonna look like? Well, I guess we'll see. And like the first Trump administration, I'll use legal avenues to fight back, just like I did when Trump banned me or blocked me on Twitter, and just like under the Biden administration when the military blocked me on different platforms. So if that happens, I'll just do what I've done before and take them to court.
Oh, there you go. I like that. So we fight back here. Now I want to go back to some of those categories because the more I think about it, the more unbelievable it is. So you're not allowed to say anything that's considered anti-Christian, otherwise you're a terrorist. So are we? I thought I was going to get rounded up for having a Muslim background, but it sounds like we might round up the atheists first. Well, I mean, since you don't believe in our religion, I get you're anti-Christian. That's it, terrorist. Okay, and does that apply to all the religions, or are you still allowed to be anti-Muslim? Let's all laugh here because, of course you are, right? So then anti-capitalist, like I've said on this show, what, hundreds of times that I'm a capitalist, right? And it took some people's great annoyance. So does that mean I think we should ban discussions from anti-capitalists? Why? Why, do you not believe your opinions? I believe in what I'm saying. So if someone is a communist or a corporatist or whatever they are along the spectrum, let's get it on, brother. Let's have a debate, let's have a conversation, let's have a discussion. I'm an American. These colors don't run. I don't need to be like, oh, ban the Maoist. The Maoist will definitely win. I can't argue with a Maoist. I mean, what a bunch of losers, pathetic, weak, okay? And finally, my favorite is anti-Americanism. Wait, but being American means you're allowed to criticize the government and then by extension the country. So are we not allowed to criticize the government anymore? Is it a terrorist thing to do to criticize the government? And if you're a Trump voter, remember Democrats do get back in charge at some point. So then will all of you become terrorists overnight when you criticize a Democratic government? What kind of ludicrous, un-American trash is this? All right, we're out of time, yep. All right, so guys, we're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back, Tom Homan, how's that bribe going? And then there's a flotilla against Israel. Are they going to be murdered? And then the last one is, this is amazing. Israel has started to pay influencers. How much are they getting per video? It's gonna depress you. We'll do that when we come back.
And Tua Tag Ovalia.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. Not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of making a difference. Obviously AOC and all that, but there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd, but it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no. He's taken apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you could hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team.
David Sorrell, Nina Turner. Adam Green drop by.
Charlemagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Jay.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, they talk about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated? Or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition.
How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like, how is that like at one level, it's like, this is what we're talking about now. You're like, it's 2024.
And that's always been the critique, your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
My favorite news platform by far. It's not even close.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both worked to achieve, and I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune into the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making you happy.
I didn't know about that.
This is a happy experience. You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
Al-Qaeda, Antifa.
Amazing. Amazing.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys. Tonight we have Operation Hope. So we have normal show, then we got the bonus episode for the members. Then we have Operation Hope, and that's where some of our viewers get together and try to figure out how to help the world a little bit. I referenced to it earlier. You can get on the Zoom link, ask me questions, participate at tyt.com/hope. All right, Jordan, what's next?
We are learning more about an FBI investigation into Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, who allegedly accepted a $50,000 bribe from undercover agents posing as business owners looking to score fat government contracts. Julian Jace Calderas, a former US immigration official who worked under Homan in the Obama administration, allegedly proposed to the agents who were posing as businessmen that Homan, in exchange for $1 million, could help them win lucrative federal contracts if Donald Trump became president again, according to an internal Justice Department document describing the investigation. Now, Cenk, there is a lot more, we'll get into it, but immediately from the right, there was this denial that it didn't happen, it's all fake news, and then you started to see the rhetoric shift. Oh, well, he was just consulting. I mean, do you believe there's any cause for skepticism here, or are you just convinced that he took this bribe?
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, people should get trials, and so he's innocent until proven guilty, but he should get a trial and not be the head of this important program. And ironically, if he was an undocumented immigrant, he'd be the first to be deported since he's a criminal. Dr. Phil comes along and they're like, now, Tom, I hear you took $50,000, okay? Now, that's illegal, you know that, right? So we're gonna have to deport you. So we'll have to figure out where to deport him.
Yeah. Well, Homan was running his own consulting firm, which I think is where the right-wing spin comes from, in the fall of 2024 that would help contractors win border-related contracts. And he publicly bragged that he would serve in a senior role carrying out Trump's proposed mass deportations if the GOP candidate won the election. Calderas, a former border agent, would benefit from his longstanding ties to Homan as CEO of the San Antonio-based ex-Fed. Calderas, co-owner of a detention services and government contracting firm in Texas, first allegedly proposed the scheme in May of 2023. Calderas held several subsequent conversations with the agents about his cash for contracts proposal, culminating in a September 20th, 2024 meeting in Dallas, at which agents recorded Homan accepting $50,000 in cash, according to the document and sources. At that same meeting, Calderas accepted $10,000 from the undercover FBI agents. His alleged proposal to undercover FBI agents, which had not been previously reported, led to a full-blown Justice Department investigation of Homan, who at the time was a private consultant helping clients obtain government contracts. Now, the White House has criticized the investigation as a politically motivated inquiry started under the Biden administration. White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson said in a statement that this changes nothing. The now shuttered federal criminal probe is a blatantly political investigation which found no evidence of illegal activity. Now, the investigation ended after Trump became president for a second time in January. His political appointees at the FBI and the Justice Department shut down the case last month. Jackson said that Homan has not been involved with any contract award decisions and that he is doing a phenomenal job on behalf of President Trump and the country. She also reiterated that the investigation was driven by Biden Justice Department appointees to target President Trump's allies. But the Trump administration needs to get their story straight because they're sending conflicting messages, which means lies are being spouted. Take a look.
Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one.
Okay, so he never took it. But Homan said during an interview on Fox News that he did nothing wrong, but he did not address whether he accepted the $50,000. Take a look.
They said that you took $50,000 in cash in a bag from an undercover FBI agent to help them win government contracts in Trump's second term. The DOJ said they concluded there was no criminal wrongdoing, but nevertheless, that story is out there, and I imagine you want to respond to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, I did nothing criminal. I did nothing illegal. And this hit piece after hit piece.
Seems like something that's easy to refute if you didn't take the money. However, the revelations about Calderas' role shows conspiracy. Conspiracy charge requires that more than one person enter into a corrupt agreement, and undercover federal agents can't be part of a conspiracy. And Jank, I'll remind you and the audience that the early reporting on this story said that there was video of this incident, and whether or not we'll see that anytime soon remains to be seen. But what do you make of this?
All right, so first of all, I'm gonna get back to what if it wasn't illegal. We're gonna talk about that, okay? But first, do I believe the Trump administration that they looked at and they're like, well, golly gee, he happens to be in an enormously important role in our administration. But we looked through it and you got a bag full of cash. That doesn't look good. No, but we have decided in an unbiased way that our guy should not be prosecuted. And by the way, neither should the January 6th guys, neither should anyone on Trump's side, neither should anyone who gave a campaign donation to Donald Trump or bought his Bitcoin or his meme coin who were charged with fraud and white collar crime. They should all be free to go, but trust us, bro. It was because we did a neutral investigation. No, we don't trust you at all. Okay, now how about the Biden guys? So you could say, hey, listen, and we said this many times. Why did they start the investigations of Trump 2.5 years in, right? So that was wrong, in my opinion. At a bare minimum, the timing was wrong, okay? So, but did they ever charge Democrats or were they like Trump? No, my guys are all free to go no matter what they did and you guys are gonna get locked up for being anti-American or whatever, right? So no, they went after many Democrats, including famously Senator Menendez from New Jersey. So that dude was, well, I said, kind of a similar story, right? Menendez was more over the top. He took it from the Egyptians, and he had like money stuffed into his jacket, suits and stuff, and he had gold bars, like gold bars are falling out of his hand from the Egyptians. He's like, what? No. Everybody gets gold bars. What do you mean? Everybody has money stuffed into every suit pocket. So now in this case, come on, guys. Okay, if you're a Trump voter, right? Like the Trump voters are supposed to be like regular bros, right? That's not really true. Everybody has normal, regular people, Democrats or Republicans, and there's all these stereotypes. But like as a regular guy, anyone out there, when someone hands another person $50,000 in cash, unless they're a teller in Las Vegas, and they hand it to them in a bag, starting to get a little sus, as the kids say, right? About 10 years ago. Okay. Anyways, of course there's a problem there. Of course it should be investigated, and all of a sudden you drop the investigation. But okay, for a second, let's assume that it wasn't illegal. It's a perfectly normal thing to do, to say, hey, you know what? If we get in charge, I'm not going to look at who's the best contractor. As long as you give me a bag filled with $50,000 in cash, you're gonna get the contract. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound that good, does it? Even if it was legal, is that what you want? So that before people, are gonna make decisions, they're like, well, who bribed me? Okay, well, look, there's a lot of things that are considered bribes that are legal, so I'm doing it too. Okay, well, but don't you care about who the best person for the company for the job is? Yeah, the best company for the job is the dude who gave me $50,000 in a bag. And if you notice, of course, as Jordan pointed out in that video, he never denied it. He says, I didn't do anything illegal, because conveniently, the administration I'm in dropped the charges. So he didn't say he didn't take the cash. That is very telling, man. It is super easy to say he didn't take the cash. The reason why he didn't say he didn't take the cash is because apparently it's on tape.
Yeah, and I think what MSNBC, who broke this story initially, is doing is the same thing the Wall Street Journal did with the Epstein letter from Trump for his birthday. They publish that it exists. You get the initial wave of denials from the right, from the Trump administration, and then they publish the actual document itself, and then in this case, the video. And then all of a sudden, viewers, the general public can watch and see the excuses change, because in that letter it went from it doesn't exist to, well, that's not Trump's signature. So they're acknowledging it does exist and it is real. And of course, we know it's Trump's signature. And I think what they'll say here is, oh, well, that's not him on tape, or that's AI, that's fake. Again, it seems like it happened. They have video of it. They scuttled the investigation, and Homan himself, when asked, couldn't even adequately respond to this charge of a bribe. Seems like it, and when there's smoke, there is typically fire. Like you say, he hasn't been found guilty yet, but because of this administration, because it is so overrun with corruption, there won't be. So it's just really how it plays out in the court of public opinion.
And guys, again, one last thing for the Trump voters out there. If you say it's okay, remember the next time a Democrat wins, everybody gets bags of cash. Okay, and then you guys are good with it, right? And then they give away government contracts that affect all of us because some Democratic official in that hypothetical, and in this case, literal Republican official, goes, hey, I'm gonna get the bag. In this case, it's literal.
Yeah, let's get in. Oh, I think we're taking a break.
All right, guys. Again, we got two stories coming up that are super important. There's updates on the flotilla. Jordan's on top of it, has someone on the boat that he's talking to. That's amazing. We'll share the details there. And then Israel has started to pay influencers because nobody wants to show for them for free. But Jesus, how much are they paying them? A little bit later in the program.
I put on the blinders. I say, I just do it. I just do it. blinders, I say I just do it. I just do it.
All right, so let's go to our members on TYT.com. Boomer Dragon Cat says, we've been screwed over so many times from every which way, I no longer believe in accidents or coincidence. Is that an accident where you accidentally give somebody $50,000 in cash in a bag? I mean, that's what they want us to believe, come on. Anyways, Brett Campbell, AKA Dragon My Ass, writes in, it appears that taking bribes is a very patriotically American thing to do. Yeah. Well, these days. And by the way, mainstream media will tell you when it's in the form of a campaign contribution, it is not a bribe. It is two people agreeing and then one of them paying the other one $1 million. But it's just a coincidence. News reporters, journalists. All right, anyway, put that away. Writes in, won't they have to arrest Trump for cheating on his wife multiple times? That should be a fun day. So that's referring to the terrorism story that if you violate family values, you're a goner. Imagine the Democrats tried to arrest Trump on that. What do you think MAGA would do? You're arresting him for what? Hey guys, it's your team's idea. So maybe not be in favor of that. And by the way, I bet a lot of them aren't. I don't know. People say I'm naive, but I think tons of folks are not going to want to arrest people they are not going to want to call people terrorists for having the most normal disagreements of all time. Salty Mama says, watching on a half-hour delay, genius rant about the system, Jordan. Keep it coming. Okay, he has. Sus Pow says, my friend with Huntington's disease learned about the new medication that is supposed to be a cure, tried to get it, found out it costs $2 million. A cure exists, but only for the super rich, because we live in America. Okay, I don't know who did the R&D on that in particular. I'd be shocked if it wasn't us, taxpayers. So, but you're gonna have to pay $2 million. Our system's so crazy. All right, Eclectic says, is there anyone who really thinks Democrats are going to get any substantive concessions from the GOP? Democrats regularly cave to Republicans even when they control the White House and both houses of Congress. That is very true, so yeah, usually that's how it works. We'll see if it's different this time, but it would be shocking. Grok DeVote says, nice suit, Cenk, looking sharp. Well, thank you, appreciate it. Remote Dragon says, sad news, Jane Goodall passed and the forces for good in this world suffer a serious blow. Yep, RIP Jane Goodall. I mean, I'm just seeing that from you, but she was a great lady and I like the randomness of that, but thank you for the shout out, she was terrific. Over 9,000 says, amazing, the Dems finally been backed into a corner and are not going to cave until they do anyway, or Trump just decides we don't need Congress controlling the budget anymore. He has often decided that. By the way, that's one of the other things Democrats are asking for. You're not allowed to disagree with Congress after they already appropriated money and go, well, I'm not going to give it. I mean, that's the thing you shouldn't have to ask for because it's already illegal, but that's the times we're in. Grok DeVote also says, I've never been an anarchist, but if ever there was a government to make me think we might be better off without one, this would be it. Don Dada Dragon says, they'll subsidize oil, but they won't subsidize healthcare for Americans. 100%. All right, wait, I'm out of time. We'll be right back.
I put on the blinders, I say I just do it. I just do it. This damn fat drug I take, it's not working.
All right, back to TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys. More news.
The Israeli Navy has intercepted the global Samud flotilla, which was sailing toward Gaza, bringing humanitarian aid. We're bringing baby formula, food, medical supplies to millions of people who are currently surviving as best they can a genocide in Israel, which is using starvation as a weapon of war, which is a war crime. Now, the flotilla is made up of more than 40 civilian boats. At 7:25 p.m., roughly 20 Israeli naval ships approached the flotilla and ordered the boats to turn off their engines, activists said on social media. According to Drop Site News, at 8:30 p.m. Gaza time on October 1st, organizers say Israeli commandos illegally boarded several flotilla ships, including Alma, Sirius, and Adara in international waters. Before the assault, Israeli naval vessels allegedly sabotaged communications to block distress calls and cut live streams. Contact has since been lost with multiple boats, and the status of many participants is still unknown. Calling it an illegal attack on unarmed humanitarians, flotilla organizers stressed the mission is not over. Despite interceptions, the global Samud flotilla remains 70 nautical miles from Gaza, and we will continue undeterred. Israeli Channel 13 is reporting that the Navy has seized 6 of the flotilla's largest vessels at this point. They've arrested Greta Thunberg, who was aboard the Alma boat in the Samud aid flotilla. You could see footage of that here. Passengers are reporting that Israel is shooting water cannons at ships that haven't been intercepted yet. They say one of the vessels was also rammed by the IDF. And if you watch, they have a stream on YouTube. Throughout the day today, you were able to see one by one IDF boats pulling up alongside these sailboats, spraying water cannons and jamming the communications to break and disable their equipment and knock them offline. And one by one, you were watching as these streams went dark, and you have no idea what happens to these people. And we hope for the best possible outcome, that they make it out of this situation safe and alive. But again, Cenk, all they're trying to do is bring food, baby formula, and medical supplies to Gaza.
Yeah, so first of all, I love these folks. So I can't stand it when the people on the other hosts on TV or online are like, oh, Greta Thunberg, oh, ha, 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 she's not real. What are you talking about? What are you doing to help in the middle of a genocide? What are you doing? Let me see all the other anchors. You got a better idea? No, 90% of them go kiss Israel's ass. Oh yeah, of course, you should starve the children. That's a great idea. What a moral army, right? They're at least trying to do something, something significant. And look, there is a way that it could have worked, by the way, and it almost happened. At one point, Spanish and Italian ships joined in to make sure that they were okay. They should have just kept going with them. And all the different armies in the world or governments in the world were not coming to invade Israel, not coming to do anything, just deliver food to Gaza. Because the Israelis are starving children to death. And that's somehow a debatable issue. Isn't that amazing that it's debatable? So the Israeli zealots come on all over media and they do their hasbara, right? And they're like, oh, there is no starvation. And you show them the kids starving. They're like, yeah, but he also had a flu. He had a pre-existing condition. So that's why we starved him to death. That makes it better? And then we have to debate it. And then they say, oh, well, you're an anti-Semite. If you don't want to murder Palestinian children, then obviously you hate Jews. And oh, these people, they're trying to help by feeding them. Well, it's not going to be very effective or efficient. Okay, you got an effective and efficient way? Then let's do that. I would love it. All the world's governments should have joined this flotilla, and they should hang their head in shame for not joining it and for letting Israel boss the whole world around. We have said you are not allowed to feed the Palestinians. No one is allowed to cross us. You hate Jews, you hate Jews, you hate Jews. Let us starve the Palestinians. Wait, if you're starving them, don't you hate them? No, of course. So look, these are wonderful folks. I hope none of them get hurt. Sometimes Israel kills people that are in flotillas. That happened in 2010. By the way, they killed a Turkish American there, and as usual, the American government was like, oh yeah, great, no problem. Yeah, oh, kill Americans all day long. Who cares? Oh, Israel, Israel. Israel has killed what now? What are we up to? 8 or 9 Americans since 2022 in the occupied territories, and the U.S. response has been nothing, nothing. They're like, I mean, yeah, you're murdering Americans, but you're Israel, so we bow, we bow, we bow. Don't say it. You're an anti-Semite. But is it true? Did they kill those Americans, the Israeli settlers and the IDF? Yes. Did America do anything about it? No. No, actually, to be fair, we did do something about it. We sent him another check. Biden sent $18 billion. Oh, you're murdering Americans and starving Palestinian children. Here's $18 billion. And all of Congress was like, Israel, we bow, we bow. And they sent them $18 billion. Did they or did they not, mainstream media? Did they or did they not? They did. And now Trump is like, oh, here's another 6 billion. Here's another 7 billion. Oh, Israel, 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 Israel. But if you object, anti-Semite, cancel them. Okay. So that's where we are with this sick country at this point, committing a genocide in front of the whole world and go, oh, you're trying to feed people we're purposely starving to death? You're the terrorist sympathizers. You know what scared the hell out of me, Jordan? When the Israeli government in the middle of the flotilla's journey said, oh, we think they are working with Hamas. And that's what Israel says right before they murder you. So, of course they're not working with Hamas. That's just a generic thing that Israel does before they assassinate someone or just flat out murder them. And that's the sick terrorist government we're supporting right now.
Yeah, I've got a friend on one of these boats. We've been talking a lot throughout this voyage. And during the breaks, I've been checking his Instagram because he's been going live on Instagram. And right now, his Instagram handle is Quentin Quarantino. You could see it for yourself. This is what they're doing. They are spraying these boats with water cannons to knock their devices offline. The streams, like I mentioned earlier, are going black because what's happening here is around 500 compassionate souls from around the world are trying to bring aid to a starving population. And the Israeli military is stopping them from doing that in international waters. They have no legal right to intervene here, just as they have, of course, no legal right to use starvation as a weapon of war, to commit a genocide. The head of Israel is wanted in the International Criminal Court, and the United States government welcomed him. He met with influencers. We'll get into that later this hour. And this is how they treat people who are just trying to intervene, to stop an atrocity. And I worry about the safety of everyone. I worry about, of course, my friend on there. And we were talking earlier this week, and he had to record videos for when he is captured that will get posted after that happens by somebody else. But he also had to record a video in case of his death. And I was talking to him about what does that feel like? You are now forced, because you want to stand up for people who are starving and who are living through a genocide, the survivors right now, a population that is enduring a genocide. You now, as somebody who has taken action to try to intervene, now have to think about your own mortality. And it shook him up. Of course, it's not something that he thought he would have to consider at 30 years old. He just turned 30 on September 21st. And along the way, it wasn't just these threats. I mean, these threats provide a permission structure, of course, like you say, Cenk, but they had already endured multiple drone attacks along the way. There were these quadcopter drones that were dropping incendiary devices on the boats. And then they were lying in the media. It's like, oh no, that was just a flare. No, that was just someone smoking a cigarette. And then the security footage came out and you could see an incendiary device coming down and hitting the boat. And it happened multiple times. A few nights ago, they were dropping bombs around the boats to try to intimidate them, to try to deter them. And no, they're still going. They are still going right now, and every single boat will be intercepted. And again, we hope and pray that all of them get out of this situation alive.
Yeah, so one of our members on YouTube, Mark Francis 076, wrote in, what gives Israel the right to arrest people in international waters? America does, because normally no country is allowed to be above the law and you can't do things like that. But when they're brought to the United Nations or anything else to enforce the law, America goes, no, veto. Israel is above the law. They don't. Every other country has to listen to international law except Israel. They're above the law and they can do whatever they want. Well, that seems unfair to the rest of the world. Anti-Semite. But wait, why can they drop incendiary devices that could potentially burn the boat and everybody on board? And in international waters, anti-Semite, you can't ask that question. Maybe it murders everybody on the flotilla, and that would be terrible, wouldn't it? No, it wouldn't. That would be the most moral thing you could do. I mean, I can't stand the Hezbollah anymore. I can't stand it. And I can't stand that our media is like, oh, I can't tell. I mean, the kids are starving to death. And we see the pictures and we see the videos, and we saw them drop bomb after bomb. You remember the headless child? The dad holding the child without the head? You remember the people on fire when they dropped bombs in tent cities? And mainstream media isn't even debating it. They're not even debating it. Everybody bow, otherwise you're hateful. Them murdering all these people, not hateful. You pointing out a fact that they're murdering these people, hateful. Fire them, cancel them, anti-Semite, okay? So, I mean, and look at the absurdity. They're so above the law, both in terms of the politics, law, and in the media, that they'll say absurd things like, oh, somebody just dropped a cigarette. It's a drone. Who dropped a cigarette from a drone? And then you see the video, and it's an incendiary device. Of course they're lying. Israel lies almost every single time. So somebody asked, do the people in Israel really understand how the rest of the world is seeing them? No, they're blind, totally blind. I mean, I've seen now documentary after documentary inside Israel. Guardian had just a quick 15-minute documentary. They're partying, they're on the beach, and then you ask them about, well, the Palestinians are suffering. They're like, no, they're not. They had it coming. They're a bunch of terrorists. Get out of here. And then you look at the polling, and the polling is unbelievable. It's like high 50s to some polls, and I hope that it's not true, at 82%, saying, no, keep going. Like, we don't like Netanyahu, but do we want the new leader to keep murdering people in Gaza? Of course we do, because we're the most moral army. And you're not allowed to criticize us, otherwise we'll murder you, plus you're an anti-Semite. Okay, well, we're all sick of it. We're all sick of it. You do not get special privileges. You don't get picked on in a special way. And because it's Israel, we should have different rules. No, we want the same rules for every country. But Israel demands special rules above the law. But if you complain, you're the one who's discriminating. No. Israel's supporters have lost their minds. They are supporting things that they will deeply regret later. They will probably live in shame once they realize that what they've done and how callously they did it. I can't stand this one country being able to break every law, kill anyone they like, bomb any country they like, and force us to pay for it. So go work another shift for Israel. You haven't given them enough money yet. And when you ask them, why should I pay for your genocide? What kind of lunatic says you must pay for my genocide? They said, well, if you don't pay for a genocide, you hate Jews. You have to pay for our genocide. Otherwise, why do they say such insane things? No one could possibly believe that, right? But number one, they're blind, so they do believe it. They genuinely think they're the good guys. They don't think they're evil. They think like, oh, thank God we're murdering them. Oh, we got to keep ourselves safe. We're in existential danger. We only have nukes and Iron Dome and everything. We're the victims. Kill them. We're the victims. Shut up. You're not the victims. You're not at all the victims. Have Jews been victims throughout the history of the world? Yes. Is Israel a victim now? No, they are the aggressor. They're a terrorist nation, and it's not close. And anyone who doesn't tell you that is lying to you on purpose to protect this sick terrorist government. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, Israel is now getting desperate. They usually have the media do their dirty work for them. And if they don't, they get fired for being an anti-Semite. But now they're running out of puppets. Oh, sorry, you can't say that. Everything's a trope. Everything's a trope. No, there's no control. Israel does, I mean, they give to 90% of Congress, but no, there's no control at all. Shh. But when we come back, we're gonna tell you how much they're paying in cold hard cash. Tom Homan, maybe you get a bag and show up. But anyway, to influencers. Now go lie on behalf of Israel. Go shut up and lie. Here's money, okay? They would probably done it for free anyway. But all right, here we go. We'll tell you when we return.
Bacon.
All right, back on TYT. Let's go to YouTube members. Shannon Lee Irish Girl says, I'm right wing and I'm watching because I agree 1,000% about Israel. Wait a minute, Shannon, how dare you? Don't you know that you owe Israel? You owe them. $310 billion is not enough. It's not enough. Go back to work. Otherwise, you're an anti-Semite, okay? You better pay up. There's more Palestinians to kill. You better pay up. Anti-Semite. They turned it into a joke. Simon Moody says, spot the two Western democracies that do not recognize the ICC. Can I just, no, I'm going back to that. By the way, I'm not kidding, they really say that. If you say that, no, we don't owe Israel, they call you an anti-Semite. They say, well, that's a trope of something, like you're saying that we're giving money to Israel because they give money to Congress and control Congress. Yeah, I am saying that. Any country could do it. It just happened to be that Israel, through allies in America, is the one that did that. And they're like, no, that's true, but you're not allowed to say it. And we'll ruin your life if you say it. And now go back to work for Israel. And you do owe them. Why do I owe them? You're an anti-Semite for asking. No. That magic spell stopped working. Oh, trope. Anytime you start talking about it, they're like trope. Okay, it's they conveniently planted all these tropes around so that if you criticize Israel like one, it's a trope. Okay, hey, you don't want to be criticized for controlling Congress? Why don't you stop bribing 90% of them? Oh, revolutionary idea, trope. Okay, Simon. Do we actually have a sound clip of that? No. Okay, but that sounded good. All right, Simon Moody says, spot two Western democracies that do not recognize the ICC. That's the International Criminal Court. Oh, look at that, it's Israel and the US. Well, what were the odds? Londa Ball says, I'm embarrassed to be an American. I've hesitated getting my passport renewed because going to other countries, is it even safe for us now? No, don't be embarrassed about being an American. We fight back. These colors don't run, okay? We're gonna get our government back. We're gonna get our democracy back. And guys, again, for the billionth time, it's not just Israel. They're actually relatively small compared to Big Pharma, big oil, defense contractors, et cetera. We got to get our government back from all of them. The corrupt sons of bitches that almost all of mainstream media and almost all of our politicians work for. All right, Dragon Old Bull says, I received a text from Tracy Mann asking for my support, and I replied, F you and F to Orange Man. For the first time, I received a reply text stating, you have successfully unsubscribed. Indeed you have. Arrest them, terrorist. I mean, like this is America, come on guys. KW251 says, how much of these drugs cuts will go to AIPAC? Oh, don't give me any ideas. Oh, the drug companies actually get you reasonable prices. So we took the proceeds and sent it to Israel. Donovan 8X says, Republicans hold majority, yet Trump's still blaming Democrats. Good one on the government shutdown. Of course he is. Cassandra Capernica says, clearly CNN thinks Anna looks better on camera than Cenk, plus you scare the other talking heads. Now that is a super fair point, both of those. You're right on both counts. Boom.
Amazing.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys, but also Steve 1957. Way to join through tyt.com/join. Now we do have a bonus episode. You're going to get to see it because you're a member, and then Operation Hope, tyt.com/hope to be part of that. You get to ask me questions there as well. And I'm going to read one quick super chat. Froyo said Trump can have a cookie, but when he's done eating, can we get back to the Epstein files? Yep. Oh, you mean the ones that don't exist? Oh, right. Okay. Jordan, what's next?
President Donald Trump's 2020 campaign manager, Brad Parscale, is now a foreign agent of Israel who will rake in millions of dollars to spread pro-Israel propaganda to young Americans. This comes on the heels of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu revealing his plan to get billionaire Zionists to take control of TikTok and other social media platforms to push pro-Israel messaging. Parscale filed paperwork with the Foreign Agents Registration Act saying he began work for the Israeli government on September 18th. He registered a company called Clock Tower X LLC and is primarily corresponding with Israel's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Iran Sheyovich, listed as chief of staff at Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, according to his LinkedIn. According to Parscale's contract, his company is hired to create content where at least 80% is tailored to Gen Z audiences across platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, and other relevant digital and broadcast outlets. The contract also states, agency shall provide strategic communications, planning, and media services in support of clients' engagement by the State of Israel to develop and execute a nationwide campaign in the United States to combat anti-Semitism. This news is relevant, especially since we saw Netanyahu push the importance of influencers during his UN meeting last week. Take a look.
How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefield in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. So we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. We have to fight the fight, okay? Give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends or those who could be our Jewish our friends.
Now, Parscale's contract is worth $6 million. In return for the lucrative contract, Israel expects Parscale's content to get at least 50 million impressions online per month, which isn't going to be hard since TikTok has been compromised by pro-Israel elites and Netanyahu. As we told you Monday, Trump greenlit a $14 billion deal that gives Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison partial control of TikTok, the same Larry Ellison who is the single biggest private donor to the IDF. Oracle is reportedly to get 15% and be named the app's security provider. Now, not only will American companies like Oracle have access to TikTok's user data, it will also have control of the algorithms that manage the kind of news, the messaging, and images that all of those users see. Last Thursday, Trump officials confirmed that the agreement gives the new US owners control over the coveted TikTok algorithm. JD Vance said that the US company will have control over how the algorithm pushes content to users, and we want the business to make decisions on content based on the interests of the business and based on the interests of users. But if it's not just Ellison involved in the deal, Rupert Murdoch and Jeffrey Yass, who both have deep ties to Israel and AIPAC, are also involved. So basically, Israel's goons like Parscale make the content Israel wants people to see, while they also have control of the algorithm, which means TikTok will officially be a propaganda machine. Now, Cenk, what do you make of this?
Yeah, so what I make of it is that Larry Ellison is going to lose a couple $2 billion. So I think that it has a chance of turning into Rupert Murdoch buying MySpace. He's like, oh, I hear the kids are all on MySpace, and Murdoch comes and buys it. Everybody's like, let's get out of here. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember that. This was a long time ago, kind of beginning of the internet type of stuff. So now when they're like, okay, everybody, you could rest assured TikTok's still the place to go. We've got our Israeli censors in. We've got the guy who donated to a foreign military. Who gives charity to a foreign military? What a strange thing to do, right? Okay, then we got the former IDF soldier who's now the hate speech manager at TikTok. We've got, and Netanyahu's telling you on tape, oh, we're gonna get control of TikTok. Okay, and don't worry, Elon's a friend at X. Wink, 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 right? And so we've got all of social media. I got bad news for you guys. No, you don't. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get a new competitor. And that new competitor is gonna say, hey, we don't have Israeli censors. And everybody's gonna go over there. And you're gonna go, no, wait. Oh, God damn it, now we gotta buy that one. Okay, but by the way though, we don't control anything. Anti-Semite. But you're literally telling us you're buying media companies to control them to give a positive message about Israel. You're saying it on tape. So if I repeat what you're saying, is it a trope? Is it a trope when Netanyahu says it? The Ellison Group that was buying Barry Weiss, massive pro-Israel propagandist, buying her outlet, Free Press. They literally said, "Oh, we're giving her, more because she's pro-Israel." Okay, so I'm not saying it; you're saying it. Okay, so and then Netanyahu in that video, that was amazing. He's like, he kept talking about how Israel is going to now give direction to people in the media, but don't say it. He's allowed to say it, but you're not. If you say it, you're an anti-Semite. We just saw him say it with our own eyes. See, these guys are amazing, right? And then he says at the end, our Jewish friends and our non-Jewish allies, and also those who could be our friends. And how could they be your friends, Benjamin? They could be your friends if you give them a bag of money like you just did to Parscale for, here's $6 million. Now all of a sudden he's a big friend of Israel. So the one good thing about this story though, because we're a fair show in America, hey, at least he registered as a foreign agent. We appreciate it, okay. First time someone's done that honestly in a long time. Okay, so now Trump's former manager, and there'll be a lot more of these type of folks, is it literally an agent for a foreign country. That's why he ran on America First.
Yeah, well, there is another angle here with paid influencers. Take a look at this.
But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important?
X.
X. How do we fight back? Our influencers, that community, they're very important.
That was Benjamin Netanyahu during a recent meeting with influencers where he emphasized the importance of spreading more pro-Israel propaganda on social media. And now we're learning that the Israeli government is putting some big money behind those efforts. According to a new report from Nick Cleveland Stout at Responsible Statecraft, documents show that these influencers are likely being paid around $7,000 each time they post on social media on behalf of Israel. Here's what he found. Bridges Partners, a firm working for the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sent a series of invoices for its influencer campaign to Havas Media Group Germany, an international media group working for Israel. The invoices detailed a sum of $90,000 starting in June and slated to end in November for a cohort of 14 to 18 influencers to create content. The document, which was filed under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, notes that the funding is for both payments for influencers and production, but does not provide a breakdown between the two. When taking into account the administrative production costs through September 16th, that leaves an estimated sum of $552,000 plus for the influencers between June and September of this year. The firm estimated that the cohort was expected to produce 75 to 90 posts in that time. Doing the math, that would be 6,100 per post on the low end. On the high end, each influencer could be making as much as 7,300 per post. Bridges Partners hasn't revealed which influencers are participating in the campaign, which they've dubbed the Esther Project. But the guys behind the firm are Yair Levy and Uri Steinberg, who each own a 50% stake in the firm. Bridges Partners describes its work as assisting with promoting cultural interchange between the United States and Israel. And Jank, I actually interviewed Nick earlier today for my podcast, and he pointed out that because we don't have any specifics on who is getting this money, it reflects a breakdown in transparency on these FARA registrations where this outside foreign money can come in. You pay these influencers, there isn't disclosures on the content, and this is all outdated. FARA was written in the 1930s. We need more modern regulations on this type of content. What do you think?
Yeah, that Netanyahu video never gets old. I mean, it's just a couple of days old, but it's got so many amazing nuggets. Okay, now we're gonna get our message out with our influencers. Okay, now he's the prime minister of Israel. He's referring to influencers working on behalf of Israel. And now that we know they're paying him about $7,000 per video, and we all view that as like normal. Now you substitute any other country, and you'd be like, wait, what? If a Chinese government came and said, oh, okay, now our Chinese influencers in this country will be paid $7,000 a pop to do pro-Chinese propaganda, or pro-Saudi propaganda, right? The whole place would go nuts. Pro-Iranian propaganda, right? We'd be like, oh, what? They're taking over our country, right? Israel does it. They're like, you better not criticize. You better not criticize. You better not say that they're trying to get control of the media. He said it. He said it. All right, so you can see, guys, it's an uneven battlefield. Like the left has almost no money, and then ironically, Netanyahu says this all the time. Oh, it's the foreign governments that are influencing America. He literally says that. It's hilarious. It's the biggest projection I've ever seen in my life, right? And he's like, oh, well, they're going through and they're funneling money into the country in different ways. No, they're not. Okay, he's talking about himself. He's telling himself. Project Esther started, as I told you earlier in the show in a different story, by the Heritage Foundation, having nothing to do with Israel, but they wanted to use anti-Semitism and Israel as a pretense to start calling Democrats and people on the left terrorists and anti-Semites, to arrest them and do all sorts of things and to clamp down on their political opponents. And then Israel looks out and goes, ooh, that sounds good. I like that. Okay, yeah, we're on to Project Esther too. So now we're gonna spend all this money. We're gonna try to influence Americans. And the great news is we already bought mainstream media. They're totally our dogs. So they'll say that if you point out things I said on tape, they'll call you an anti-Semite and try to ruin your life and get you fired, right? So we got mainstream media, now we got all these influencers. Now the most important part of this whole thing, guys, is now when you see someone being pro-Israel in media, understand that they might be getting paid by Israel. So that's probably not their genuine opinion. So all these people have been paid to lie on behalf of Israel. And to be fair, unless you're like lost your mind as a pro-Israel zealot, and you're like, genocide is great. I mean, it's not a genocide. Kill them more, kill them more. Unless you're that guy, which there's tons of those guys, then you're getting, of course they have to pay you to say that a genocide is not a genocide, and a genocide is a wonderful thing that a moral army would do, and how they're the victims. So when you see it now on social media, know that that guy's probably a liar who got paid to lie on behalf of Israel. So thank you very much, Israel. Now, everyone that I debate, everyone that does a video on behalf of Israel is probably a paid stooge of the government of Israel. So you should discount everyone arguing in favor of Israel because they were probably bribed to. Now, to be fair, it's not bribe, it's not illegal. No, they were paid to. Hey, dog, here, fetch, be pro-genocide, here's $7,000. By the way, $7,000 per video is mental. That is a giant number. And of course, if you want somebody to be pro-genocide, you have to give them a lot of money to make that happen. So, but don't worry, Israel has, I repeated what he said, trope. All right, we're out of time. Yeah, Jordan, you want to say one more thing?
Yeah, one thing, just to show how this is a unique circumstance and everyone's fine with it, and no other country could get this kind of treatment. We have an example. Last year, there was a big investigation that Russia was funding an American media company and paying people indirectly like Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin enormous sums of money to work in pro-Russian talking points into their content. And after that was unveiled, that whole company shut down. Israel's doing it, it's public, everyone's fine with it.
I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd the special privileges Israel gets in this country while pretending that they don't, and that anyone who says they do or repeats what Netanyahu said on tape hates Jewish people and should be fired and destroyed. They're a joke. If you see someone arguing in favor of Israel, they're probably a paid bitch of Israel. So now you know. All right, we got to take a break. Members, we're going to come back. We've got more stories for you guys. And finally, the Republicans are trying to figure out how to protect millionaires. Okay, tyt.com/join or hit the join button below the video on YouTube. We'll see you in a minute.